Hello you miserable pumpkins and welcome to this random and unplanned video. Yes, I know, technically I was supposed to release my Has-Been Hotel song tier list video for season 2. To be honest, I still didn't finish the writing of that one, and in the meantime I decided to catch up with Miraculous season 6, which as you can see led me to get sidetracked again. Anyway, hi to every newcomers, I'm Westflower, and last year I did a video very similar to what you're about to watch about the Miraculous of the Rabbit and time travel in general in the Miraculous universe prior season 6. And while this video is mainly about season 6, I will bring up other episodes in my last video on the matter sometimes, so I highly recommend you to watch this one first. But if you're too lazy or you just don't want to, don't worry, you will still be able to compare this video without it. But still, it's in the description if you want. Also, you can leave a like or subscribe, that's also an option, you know, just like that. Anyway, I think you might already know, but time travel is a very tricky mechanic you can add to your story. Mainly, you have to be very careful of its use and very forward and clear with its rules. Because if you don't, well, plot holes everywhere. And in Miraculous, let me tell you, time travel might be one of the worst things they added in it. I already went long and large about it in my last video, and honestly, after that, I thought I would be over with the subject. I knew this wouldn't be the last time the Rabbit Miraculous would be used in Miraculous, but even if that was the case, I just thought they would either showcase it better or do the same mistakes I touched upon, so no need to make another video reiterating the same things I already said before. But then, Season 6 decided to literally destroy my expectations by making things worse. And before I really begin with the slander, I just want to preface this to you. I personally think that Season 6 might be one of the best seasons of Miraculous so far, and I'm serious when it comes to say this. That doesn't mean it's flawless, far from it, but in terms of storytelling, animation and character development and exploration, especially for secondary characters, even if the episode's order is the messiest that it's ever been, it's a pretty dang good season, and I genuinely enjoy it.
Any last words, Sonic?
Yeah! Volcano Wonderpants!
I started to seriously watch Miraculous back when I was in middle school when only season 1 was out. I was 12 years old and Gabriel being Hawkmoth wasn't even confirmed yet at the time. Today I'm 20 and I'm in too deep to ever stop following this show. And growing up with it, it definitely deepened my critical thinking towards it and the whole magic system they tried to build over the years. And let me tell you, Miraculous has a weird power scaling system. Especially now. And honestly, I feel like the writers made a huge mistake with some of these Miraculouses and their powers. And by that I mean they made some of them way too overpowered for the situation we're in right now. Especially the range of some of these powers. I mean, it can go from creating an indestructible shield, generating illusions, or temporarily stunning people, to creating whatever object you want, granting yourself whatever power you want, freaking time travel, or just the ability to destroy to ashes just about anything you touch. Which is pretty crazy when you think about it. No, cause we like to joke about Cat Noir and his silly behavior sometimes, and we can at moments forget that he's a literal nuke all by himself. In retrospect, that's an insane power to give to a 14-year-old. Now, because of their overpowered nature, the writers obviously tried to make some kind of limitation for them. Because if not, well, the show would be over in 2 minutes. But the problem now is that sometimes those limitations create literal plot holes. For example, the Rooster Miraculous. Like I said before, this Miraculous can grant you any power of your choosing, which is very much a little bit OP. So to counter that, in the episode Destruction, when Gabriel asks the Rooster to give himself a specific power, which was to locate the Miraculous of Ladybug and Cat Noir, the Kwami Oriko explains that he can't do that because what Gabriel asked for was not a power, but a wish.
Then grant me the power to locate Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous!
Trouble is, that's not a power, that's a wish!
For instance, if I ask Santa for a pair of socks, that's a wish. But if I want Santa to grant me the power to knit socks, then it means Santa needs to know how to knit socks in the first place so he can teach me.
Yeah, no, bullshit. So in summary, Gabriel is asking for a tracking power. How is that considered a wish? Also, if Gabriel can give someone a miraculous tracking power, I'm pretty sure you can do the same with the Rooster. But okay, let's say that I'm wrong. But then, in the episode Penalty, Rooster Bolt gives himself the power to score every goal when he kicks a ball. Which now brings a question. How is that not considered a wish? When you compare with Monarch's demand, it's not as far from the definition of a wish that the Kwami gives him. It just feels like a way to limit Gabriel's actions without really thinking about it. You see what I mean? And now you might be asking, how does all of what I just said ties to the Rabbit Miraculous and time travel on the show in general? Why would I make another video on this matter more than a year later? Well, here's the thing. Since the beginning of its introduction, the Miraculous of the Rabbit's power was described as the ability to time travel everywhere and every time without any real consequences except for the altered future it might cause if the user messes with past events. To sum it up briefly, it had no limitations whatsoever. You could do whatever the hell you want with it. Again, it had no limitations. Up until now at least. Because since last year, one thing changed, which was the release of Season 6. And with it came one episode. One that partially centered on the Rabbit Miraculous, and one that finally gave an explanation as to why we can't freely mess with the timeline with it. And let me tell you, holy shit, they fucked up. Alright, before I really go into Season 6, I want to bring my last video on the matter first. For those that didn't watch it, in this one I talked about every episode where the Miraculous of the Rabbit was used prior to Season 6 and pointed at every incoherences I could find as well as the few good times that it was done right. Because yes, I like to bitch about things, but I still will bring out the positives when I find them. The thing is, when rewatching it and after reading the comments again, I realized I failed to explain my point better at times. And I would also like to answer those comments that try to contradict some of these points. There's two episodes that are concerned by this: Timetagger and Cat Blanc. Let's start with Timetagger. For those that don't remember, Timetagger is the first ever episode where the Miraculous of the Rabbit is ever used, and our introduction to its user, which was Alex of the future. Basically, an accommodatized villain from the future named Timetagger arrives to take the Miraculous of Ladybug and Cat Noir. So, Timetagger was given the power of time travel through the Butterfly Miraculous. And with it, last time I showed you this clip from the episode Destruction.
You will give me the power to travel through time!
No, you're mistaken. Time travel is Fluff's power, and I can't grant a power that already belongs to another Kwame.
With this clip, I explained how technically this restriction is the same for the Butterfly Miraculous. And because of this restriction, Timetagger didn't make sense because he has the power to time travel, which is the power of the rabbit. But in my comments, people were reminding me that technically, the Butterfly Miraculous was showcased multiple times, giving people the same powers as another Miraculous's power. And this proved that this restriction was actually only valid for the Rooster Miraculous, and in response to that, I want to apologize for not explaining my point well enough. See, the thing is, last time I might have forgotten to show you all one more clip. It's being...
Each Kwame represents a concept, and a concept can only exist once in the universe.
Again, do I have to explain what's the problem here? If we follow this Kwame's logic, this means that the Miraculouses each exist as a concept, and each of their powers comes from that specific concept. But the thing is, a concept can only exist once. There can't be multiple of them. It doesn't work like that.
Let's use an example to make things simpler. Take Tiki. She is the Kwame of creation. And creation is creation, and if there's another creation than creation, then it's not creation, it's replication.
Apart from the fact that this makes everything even more confusing, because bro, don't the Ladybug and Goat Miraculous both fall into the concept of creation? This means that the Rooster Miraculous can't grant the power of another Miraculous, not because of its own restrictions or whatever, but because it can't grant the power that stems from another Miraculous's concept. So by this logic, the Miraculous of the Butterfly should be the same. So all of those instances that you all brought in the comments where Gabriel gave people the same power as another Miraculous just becomes even more confusing. And actually, you know what? Even the Rooster breaks that rule. I mean, in the episode Repost, at one point this happens.
Rooster Bolt, since you can choose your power, give yourself the power to multiply objects. We'll need more pairs of sunglasses.
Sublimation.
So he just multiplied a pair of sunglasses, which technically falls into the concept of multiplication, which is the power of the mouse. So they can't use powers that clash with the concept of another Miraculous, unless it's for the plot. Okay, got it. I don't know, man, just make Rooster Bolt give himself the power to create sunglasses. It's not that hard. Oh, wait, fuck, that's the power of the goat. Shit, it is actually that hard. Wait, no, actually, why didn't you just ask Fabricate to create them, the hell? And yes, I know I talk about the Rooster Miraculous a lot, I apologize, but it's just that this Miraculous is way too powerful. I could make an entire video out of this. I mean, think about it. All Gabriel had to do was ask for the power of necromancy and this whole shit would have ended by now. Same for Mark when there's an akumatized villain. Just give yourself the power of mind control. It's not that hard, people.
God's not real if you two morons are running this investigation.
Oh, this one's gonna be a doozy. In my last video, I talked about how time travel-wise, Cat Blanc was the worst episode in Miraculous, which is kind of funny when you consider that Cat Blanc is praised as one of the best episodes in the franchise. For those that don't remember what happens in this episode, a messy chain of events leads to the world being destroyed by an akumatized cat noir now named Cat Blanc. Adult Blanc sees that her reality is starting to unravel and goes back to the past to understand what's going on. So she picks the marionette from the past, sends her to Cat Blanc to get his akuma while she tries to understand how they got into this situation. Last time, I talked about how adult Blanc shouldn't even exist right now since in Cat Blanc her past self dies. So her being there and her whole entire existence in itself didn't even make sense. I even cut this part of my video into a short that got a lot of attention and a lot of answers trying to explain how it was possible. And the majority of the comments and the most prominent answer to this I got, as you can see, was that adult Bonnix was in the burrow when Cat Blanc happened. And since the burrow is some sort of pocket dimension where our world has no effect or consequences in it, she was protected from the Cat Blanc timeline happening. I'm sorry, no offense to everyone who typed this, but this might be the dumbest answer I've ever gotten. Because guys, she literally started to disappear in her burrow. You can't just say it didn't affect her because she was in the burrow, then watch her get affected later in the burrow. That's not how that works. Second, yes, I actually have a lot of arguments to explain why this argument is dumb. I feel like I didn't explain myself more clearly before, so let me reiterate. In Miraculous, it's established multiple times in their universe that time is linear. It doesn't have multiple branches or anything. By that I mean, it doesn't have multiple timelines that exist by their own separate self. It's not like the manga Orange, for example, where you have a timeline where they're trying to save their friend and another one where he's dead. And no matter how much the past is affected, the future where he is dead will never change, like a separate universe. No, in Miraculous you have one past, one present, one future. It's as linear as a ruler. And if it had multiple timelines, then Cat Blanc shouldn't be affected adult Bonnix. They should be their own separate verse. So again, explain to me how she's there. She shouldn't exist as of now. In the Cat Blanc timeline, Marinette and Alex die. For adult Bonnix to be in the burrow in the first place, she had to have been given her Miraculous, but she never had. She died. Adult Bonnix as a concept shouldn't exist. She's a literal anomaly. And for those in the corner still somewhat attached to the burrow theory, you're telling me that from her teens to her adult years, she never went out of her burrow? Not even to her present time? Actually, what present time? Her present time should technically be void. You all talk about how the burrow protected Bonnix, but how did her timeline not collapse before? And lastly, from her perspective, Cat Blanc happened years ago. It's not something that suddenly happened in her adult years. It's an event from the past. When she was 16, it already happened. When she was 17, it already happened. When she was 18, it already happened. When she was 19, it already happened, and so on. So explain to me why it started to affect her only years later. Why is she disappearing in her adult years? Why did she notice this big time paradox only now? Did her timeline have an expiration date somehow? You're gonna tell me time itself was waiting until her adult years to finally crumble? That time somehow has a reaction time of its own? How the fuck does that even work? Of course, if you think you have an explanation, feel free to comment because this is really starting to hurt my head. Oh, and another thing that bothered me that I forgot to really acknowledge last time, for some reason, Bonnix decided to pick the Marinette of the past and send her to the future to get Cat Blanc's Akuma. Forgetting the fact that this was a dumb plan, you just sent someone from the past to a future you have no knowledge of. You're pretty lucky Cat Blanc didn't reveal his or Hawkmoth's identity to her. I'm confused as to why she's watching her live while she's doing this.
You have to succeed, Ladybug. Capture his Akuma. Do it now!
Like, why are you watching her in prison time and mumbling to have Marinette hurry up? just skip to the future when she wins. You can do that, remember? No, cause she was starting to disappear. You didn't have the time to watch her like this. You can just skip to the future and have her come back in seconds. Anyway, overall, this was my take on things. If you have any contradictions or anything to add, once again, the comment section is yours. And now, I think it's finally time to talk about our real problem here, the real reason I decided to make this video out of the blue, and the reason why I'm still crashing out over this. This reason being... Alright, looks like we're finally here. Okay, so Dark Castle is the first and only episode of Season 6, at least for now, to showcase the Miraculous of the Rabbit, the last time we saw it being in the special London just after the finale of Season 5. And I'll be honest with you guys, this episode is pretty darn good at first glance. No, seriously, the characters were quite endearing and the storyline was pretty fun. I especially liked the action sequence with the Dark Castle villain. Seriously, how can you still miss the old animation when watching this? It baffles me. And the time travel segment wasn't as outrageous. Actually, if it wasn't for this one scene that I'll touch upon, it would have been perfect time travel wise. Yes, they use it for very selfish reasons in this one, but it's not the first time this happened, and compared to previous instances, again, it's not as outrageous. And when Marinette messed with the timeline at first, she never really changes much, just a moved plate and a moved cup here and there. Not to mention, they're still dumb teenagers, so I can excuse it a little bit. As for the heart of the matter and what essentially happens, we learned that today is Alex's birthday, but unfortunately for her, she can't really come and celebrate it with the others because of her duty as Bonnix. Marinette feels guilty about all of this until a version of her from the future arrives to explain her plan, it being that she will take the Miraculous of the Rabbit from Alex and replace her for the day while she can celebrate it with her loved ones. But while the birthday is happening, some little accidents keep occurring. First, because of an unfortunate sequence of events, Jalil gets his drink / pudding, I'm not sure, splashed onto him. Marinette, wanting Alex's birthday to be perfect, slightly moves the plate so that Jalil doesn't get dirty anymore. She can do that, right? After all, it's just a moved plate. What could go wrong? But then a pigeon poops onto the cake. Marinette once again prevents it by redirecting the poop elsewhere. So far so good, right? I mean, it's not doing anything life-changing. Nothing could go wrong, right? Right? Yeah, here's the thing, and the reason why I made this video in the first place. In this scene, Mark and Nathaniel are bringing out the cake when all of a sudden, Nathaniel trips on a cup on the ground and accidentally launches the cake onto Jalil, Alex's brother. And I'm just gonna say, a lot of really bad random stuff happened in this birthday for some reason. Was Alex cursed or something? Anyway, seeing this, Marinette decides to once again fix this up by slightly moving the cup so Nat doesn't trip. And now you might be thinking, okay, simple enough. Again, how could this go wrong? Okay, what? Yeah, so, as you might have seen, things escalated. And not just a little bit. I'll be honest with you guys, in the moment I was so fucking confused, up until I watched it again and Marinette decided to open her mouth.
Oh, I can't let that happen. This won't throw the universe off balance. This won't throw the universe off balance. This won't throw the universe off balance. Playing with the timeline is not so risky after all.
Oh my god, are you fucking serious? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think now is the perfect moment to explain to you one, if not the worst plot decision in the history of Miraculous regarding time travel. And for those in the back that are still as confused as Season 5 Adrian, it seems that even if the Miraculous of the Rabbit allows infinite time travel, it does have some sort of limitation. And apparently, from what we can gather from this whole clip and my understanding, and if I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments because for once I actually wish I was, but it seems that altering the past / future / present or any set moment in history with the Miraculous of the Rabbit can cause some sort of domino effect that ends up destroying the world. For those that are still confused, remember my point about how new limitations added later can create plot holes? Well, let me tell you, They made a big one. And don't get me wrong, I understand why they did this. I see very well why they decided to do something like that. After all, the Miraculous of the Rabbit is a very powerful Miraculous, actually the most OP one there is. And I imagine that getting so many criticism about why a certain character decided to not alter the past, even if it would be really convenient, can be overwhelming and annoying at one point. I mean, I was and still kind of am one of those people. Not only that, but up until now, this Miraculous literally had no drawbacks. You could do anything you want with it, with the consequences being altering the future to your convenience. So again, I understand the need to actually limit it to some degree, but the solution they gave might be one of the worst decisions they ever made on this show. And if you still don't understand where I'm going with this, you see, my problem now is, what the heck is the acceptable level of altering until it goes to world-ending territory? If we go to previous episodes, it just becomes less and less clear how this limitation works. You know what? Let's pick Cat Blanc for example. In this episode, we can assume that the Cat Blanc timeline was supposed to be the main timeline. After all, Cat Blanc happened without the intervention of time travel. The only reason they managed to avoid it was because Marinette changed the past by erasing her name and Adrian's present. So the whole timeline they're in right now is a timeline that comes from an altered past. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying she shouldn't have done anything. I mean, it was either intervening with past events or end up in a world destroyed by Cat Blanc. But why didn't this altering cause another world-ending domino effect? After all, they just caused an entire timeline to disappear. Not only that, but Bonix just took a clueless Marinette in the past and just yeeted her to the future without thinking. So let me get this straight. Marinette moves a cup out of the way and the world dooms itself. Erasing your name on the present, that erases the whole timeline, and the world lives on fine? And some of you might say yes, but technically it wasn't Bonix that altered the past, but Ladybug. So the holder of the rabbit wasn't directly involved in the altering, which means that the limitation of the Miraculous doesn't count. And to that I have two responses. First, if that's the case, then that limitation holds no water anymore since there is a loophole. So why even make that choice to give this limitation in the first place? And second, and I have three words for you, Alex's family heirloom. Yeah, remember that clock passed down to every generation of Alex's family until it was revealed that this was actually the Miraculous of the Rabbit in disguise? Yeah, sorry to disappoint you, but Alex had to go to the past to give this to her ancestors. So again, Marinette moves a cup out of the way, and the world dooms itself. Alex completely shifts her family history by giving them the Miraculous of the Rabbit as a family heirloom, and the world lives on fine? Once again, what's the level of altering until it goes to world-ending territory? Because now it just feels like this limitation comes into place whenever the plot conveniently asks for it to cover a plot hole. And I'm not even talking about all the instances where Bonix met with people she shouldn't have, like when she decided to go see Leonardo da Vinci.
I visited Leonardo da Vinci in his studio. He was finishing the Mona Lisa, which means I know who posed for him.
Wait, what happened to Bonix's rule about not disrupting the course of history? The heck is this? And if some of you are still not convinced, let me bring you back to the episode Evolution. In this episode, at one point, Ladybug and Rabbit Noir go to meet the Master Fu of the Past to ask him to lend them one of his Miraculous. Not without telling him that he's the one who's gonna give them their Miraculous in the future, which was so unnecessary to spoil him like that. What happened to not revealing the future to people of the past? And after that, they go about their lives as if they did a good thing and managed to work things out without changing history too much. So, let me get this straight. You stop Master Fu of the Past, spoil him life-altering decisions he's going to make in the future, and ask him to lend a Miraculous. Not only that, but you stop him in his track for a few minutes, and in terms of time itself, these few minutes could change a lot. Maybe he missed a new meeting with someone. Maybe he missed an event he was supposed to be a part of. Big or small, it doesn't matter. Maybe he managed to save himself from an event he was supposed to be a part of. Again, it doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, these few minutes they stopped him in his track for are still meaningful. And yes, maybe he didn't miss anything out of this. We'll never know actually. But them stopping him in his track like this still altered his life to some degree. And again, Ladybug and Rabbit Noir do all of that to him, and somehow the world lives on fine. But Marinette moves a cup out of the way, and the world dooms itself. How the fuck does all of this work? Holy crap! But thankfully, There is also another possibility for what we've seen in Dark Castle, a theory that I personally call the inevitable fate theory. And let me tell you, this actually doesn't solve shit either. Let me explain. This theory comes from the concept that no matter how much you try and change some events, it's going to inevitably happen in another form. And what happens in this episode can look like this is what's actually happening. To recontextualize, a little accident happens at the birthday, which causes Jalil to get dirty. So to prevent this, Marinette just slightly moves a simple plate which erases the little accident. But as my theory states, the world needed an accident to happen. And so, it decided to make another accident to fill in for the one that was just erased, so here comes the pigeons shitting on the cake. But Marinette kept fixing every new accident the world tried to replace until time had, I imagine, a literal breakdown and just destroyed itself. Meaning you can't alter fate but only put it off until it inevitably happens later in another form. And if you continue to alter it too much, it will cause the world to self-destruct. Okay, so now explain to me why the world didn't end by now by another threat equal to Cat Blanc. Once again, the Cat Blanc timeline happened without the intervention of time travel. They had to alter the past to fix all of this. But from this episode, if we pick the inevitable fate theory, that means that this world should be doomed by now. And the more you try to fix it, the more they will inevitably cause this world-ending domino effect. Actually, if we consider this theory, that means that changing the past in Miraculous should solve nothing. The Miraculous of the Rabbit would be only useful as a teleportation device. See, no matter how you look at it, none of this makes sense. And I know some people are gonna come up and say that this is just a comedic scene and that it was made just for the giggles and not meant to be serious. But if this was supposed to be a one-off scene not purposed to be taken seriously, then why this talk earlier about setting the world off balance?
This won't put the universe off balance.
That's a clear indicator that this is what happens when you mess with the timeline too much, not just a one-off exceptional situation. And like I said, if you remove this one thing, the episode is literally perfect. They just decided to self-destruct themselves because why not? Either way, if you have a contradiction or something to add, the comment section is there, and I think I'm gonna wrap up this video now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you around.